Support WrestleTalk!
Hello. 1 week till Christmas. And we have a nice early gift for you. It's more micro bookings. Hooray, you say. I'm Adam from WrestleTalk, and here are 10 AEW shocks Tony Khan can book in 2023. Number 1, an AEW WWE crossover show. While Triple H and Tony Khan are unlikely to ever sit across the table from each other and hash things out, a man can dream. And in 2023, the possibility of a crossover show isn't quite as ridiculous as it may have been in the past. Under the Vince McMahon regime, WWE was treated as a wrestling island on its own. However, now that Papa H is at the wheel, we've already seen many previous barriers broken. Commentators are constantly referencing non-WWE things such as New Japan Pro Wrestling, Bullet Club. Hell, Trips allowed Shinsuke Nakamura and Carl Anderson to appear for Noah and New Japan Pro Wrestling, respectively. And as we all know by now, TK is more than willing to collaborate with pretty much any wrestling company under the sun. So please, guys, share your toys around. Just imagine the scenes if Cody Rhodes turned back up in AEW, or the Elite versus the Bloodline. It's mouth-watering stuff. Number 2, Golden Lovers reunite. While AEW has hosted almost all of New Japan's key players by now, there's been one that's yet to appear, but has remained top of many fans' wish lists, none other than Kota Ibushi. The path to AEW is wide open at the time of writing this, as Ibushi's New Japan contract is set to expire at the end of January 2023. Not only that, but he of course has a ton of friends in AEW already, including the Young Bucks and of course his former tag partner and BFF, Kenny Omega. Omega and Ibushi were intrinsically linked together throughout much of their time in Japan, not only for New Japan, but also promotions such as DDT. So a reunion in AEW seems inevitable, and hopefully a full-time gig. TK must simply get out his wallet and pay the man what he's earned. Number 3, Sasha Banks debuts. Despite Banks still being under WWE contract as of right now recording this, it seems almost certain that she'll be exiting the company imminently. I mean, she's nailed on to be at New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 17 in January, for God's sake. And after New Japan, the next biggest destination for Banks would surely be AEW. After all, if there's one place that could really benefit from Banks' presence, it's arguably TK's company, as its women's division has long been a bit of a missed opportunity. Even better, there is a literally perfect opportunity to debut Sasha in AEW, as a challenge laid out by Britt Baker to Saraya for a tag match between Baker and Jamie Hayter against Saraya and a partner of her choosing for the January 11th Dynamite has already got fans deciding it must be Banks. Perhaps if TK hasn't even got Banks to sign the dotted line yet, he'll be hoping to seal the deal before that match rolls around. Number 4, AEW's first gimmick pay-per-view. Now, most of this list of Tony Khan bookings will be good and exciting things. However, we have to acknowledge that he could do a few ill-advised moves as well, right? AEW's current pay-per-view schedule is bare bones by design, with only 5 a year. However, as much as many would argue that this is the perfect amount, there's always room to squeeze in a few more. And even better, what if one of these new pay-per-views had a theme, a gimmick per se? No? You don't want to see that? Are you telling me you're not a fan of Hell in a Cell or TLC or Elimination Chamber? Actually, I don't hate the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but the point is, none of them are as good as Fatal 4-Way. Look, I mean, if it's going to be one, it's going to be blood and guts, isn't it? But either way, don't do this. You could do, couldn't you, Tony Khan? If you really want to make blood and guts like a thing, don't though. Number 5, Wardlow dethrones MJF. Much of AEW's 2022 was dominated by one Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF's pipe bomb promo and subsequent suspension from AEW seems set to be to that company what the Summer of Punk was to WWE in 2011. While that storyline is by no means the benchmark for well-executed wrestling plot lines, hello Kevin Nash, it sure is sad it won't continue. While we have eventually reached the end of the year with MJF on top, it's easy to forget that the MJF AEW exit return storyline came immediately after he was squashed by long-term bodyguard Wardlow at Double or Nothing. So in 2023, how about we bring things around full circle with Wardlow winning the big one at the expense of MJF? While there are many arguably better positioned individuals to dethrone MJF in 2023, such as Danielson, Omega, Moxley or Hangman, maybe TK should instead shoot his shot with War Daddy himself. Wardlow's momentum has obviously taken more than its fair share of hits since he beat MJF in May. However, all is far from lost, and Tony Khan still has a major player on his hands if he wants it, and a feud with MJF could solidify Wardlow's status for years to come. Number 6, MJF leaves with AEW Championship. I mean, let's be real. MJF is AEW's crown jewel, and there isn't anyone quite on his level at present. So if Tony Khan shares this viewpoint and sees no real need to take MJF's Triple B away from him, what interesting and often teased scenario could that play a major part in? None other than the bidding war of 2024. According to Fightful Select, MJF's contract will in fact expire on New Year's Day 2024, meaning 2023 could be all kinds of interesting, especially towards the end. Just imagine MJF spending the whole year as champion, and as the months, weeks, and days wind down in 2023, his price and value grows higher while he holds the world's biggest bargaining chip in his possession. I've actually covered this in more detail on our sister channel Parts of Unknown in my fantasy booking on the year of MJF, so if you want to hear more on what this could look like, check that out. But the possibility of MJF's contract expiring while he holds AEW's biggest prize ransom could lead to many juicy scenarios that could harken back to situations such as Survivor Series 97 and the aforementioned Money in the Bank 2011. Number 7, Jade Cargill's streak ends. Along with MJF, the next biggest homegrown star AEW have on their hands is arguably Jade Cargill. That bitch has spent the past year building on her wildly impressive undefeated streak, all whilst holding onto the company's secondary women's title, the TBS Championship. However, this year could see Cargill finally tasting defeat, a move that could do wonders for an up-and-comer in the division. Perhaps no better beneficiary of such a move would be the wildly talented and truly infectious Willow Nightingale. Willow is a star in the making and a future big babyface player for the company, no doubt, someone who, with the right build, could play the perfect foil to Cargill's reign of dominance. Even better if it comes just shy of a particularly landmark milestone for Cargill, such as 50-0. If Willow played spoiler, just imagine the reaction of all 2023's possibilities. This one is one I feel is pretty much a must. Book it, Tony. Number 8, CM Punk returns. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to sit here and unpack the whole history of what led us to this point. You know about All Out, Ace Steel's Ravenous Appetite, Larry Superkick parties to doors. So because of all of that, it's incredibly unlikely we will see CM Punk back on AEW TV. But what if it did happen? I mean, anything's possible in the World Wrestling AEW, so why not? Surely Punk and Tony Khan could kick back with some muffins and carbonated beverages and work it all out in a way that doesn't destroy locker room morale. Maybe Punk could pick up where he left off and challenge MJF for the AEW World title he never lost. Or even better, how about Punk and FTR versus the Elite? Oh my goodness. It would defy words. Better yet, do it in Chicago. Just imagine the pop. 6 months is a long time in wrestling. Perhaps wounds could be healed for the sake of a giant gate. And it would be giant. Number 9, Ring of Honor invasion angle. Tony Khan's vision for his Ring of Honor has been hampered significantly by a lack of a regular weekly television product. However, now that Ring of Honor has its own means to distribute its content, the days of it encroaching all over AEW Dynamite and Rampage can end, and it can start to define itself as its own entity. For this entry, it's important that a good chunk of time is allowed in order to define and distinguish the AEW roster from the ROH one, as eventually it could lead to an interesting invasion angle that crosses between shows. While AEW and Ring of Honor cross-branding is at present an expectation, given some time apart, this could play out very effectively and would be a great way to showcase ROH's brightest prospects in an almost Nexus-style invasion of AEW's established names. Alternatively, if Ring of Honor is positioned as the NXT of AEW, you could band together a collection of disgruntled former AEW guys that are unhappy with their, quote, demotion from the main roster, leading to an assault on Dynamite or Rampage. And number 10, Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada 5 at Forbidden Door 2. Finishing off today's list is something that simply must happen in 2023, and in all honesty, I can't envision Tony Khan not thinking the exact same way. Kenny Omega's rise in New Japan Pro Wrestling and subsequent stateside notoriety came largely as a result of his career-defining quadrilogy of legendary matches with Kazuchika Okada between 2017 and 2018. After each sharing a win, as well as a time-limit draw, Omega would win the pair's final clash at Dominion in June 2018. And while that may have seemingly closed the series, what if AEW opened the Forbidden Door to a dream 5th installment between the two rivals? The Forbidden Door pay-per-view is made for matches like these, and while it was unfortunately impossible to do so at the inaugural event due to Omega's injury layoff, hopefully 2023's installment will provide the goods. While the 5th match between Okada and Omega wouldn't necessarily have to be for any gold, having the Rainmaker step into Forbidden Door as IWGP champion would add an extra layer onto his already delicious wrestling cake. Two legends of their time duking out once again for the title to define both of their careers. It would be just incredible. And that's our list. What crazy thing would you like to see Tony Khan booking in AEW in 2023? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to WrestleTalk for up-to-the-minute breaking wrestling news. And never forget to jam that jam.